Good morning, this is Nadin Ali Aouada. Today we are going to have a reading comprehension lesson. It is suitable for 11th and 12th graders who are preparing for Module G. Beware of Superbugs. In this lesson, we are going to check if we can understand texts that consists of bands 2 and 3 vocabulary. We need also to check if we can understand a report, if we can scan a report for specific information, if we can track causes and effects in a report. So ready? Let's start. Before, let's take a look. Here we have 6 pictures and let's see what they represent. We'll start with the second photo. Yes, it is antibiotics. We have here sterilization, the machines that make something sterilized, clean. We have doctor and the patient. We have a prescription, the paper or the piece of paper a doctor writes for medicine. And we have a hospital. And I bet this photo is a bit weird for you, and it represents superbugs, which we will learn about today. So before we go to our report, we need to look at some words that will appear in the report. We need to know their meanings and to practice a bit so that will make it easier for us to understand the report. The first word here is deadly. It is from the word dead, death. So deadly is an adjective which means causing death. Implications is a word that means the results, the consequences of something. It is a noun. And then we have infect, the verb, and then we have infection. Infect and infection is to pass an illness. Like corona, you can infect others and be infected by corona. And then we have intend. Intend is to plan to do something. And invade, to spread widely. Isolate, to keep alone. Prescribe, like the doctor prescribes medicine for the patients, yes. And then we have produce, production. For example, we say this company produces things related to medicine, whatever. Reality, the thing we live in. Resistance and resistant, like how to fight something. We have a resistance against the corona, and you are resistant against the corona. Restrict, you put some restrictions, and then we have solution. We have a problem, and the way out for this problem is called solution. Sterilize, to make clean, and treat, to cure. So now we have some exercises which will make it easier for us to memorize and practice these new terms. The first exercise is a really simple exercise. We have here 8 sentences, and then we have in each sentence 2 answers to choose from. For example here, have you found a resistance or a solution to the problem? What do we usually need for a problem? We need, yes, you're right, we need a solution. So here, solution is the answer. I'll go over the sentences and then give you some time to think of the answers, and then we'll do them together. We intend or prescribe to go to a party. Don't touch that cut with dirty hands. Why? You will infect or produce it, the cut. This movie is isolated or restricted to adults. These research will have important scientific implications or infections. Number 6, be careful. Picking mushrooms in the forest. Why? Because some are resistant or deadly. And then we have the TV program Big Brother. Is what? Is a solution or reality TV show. And one last sentence here. dentists, the doctors who treat the teeth, must produce or sterilize their equipment. So here you need to choose the correct answer. Take a minute and then we'll do them together. Okay, let's see. Sentence number 2. We intend or prescribe to go to the party. We intend, we plan. So, intend is the correct answer. Why can't we touch a cut? Because we will infect it. So here, infect is the correct answer. The movie is only restricted to adults. Nobody else can watch it. So restricted here is the answer. These research will have, always research, have results, findings, etc. And we have here implications. And be careful picking mushrooms in the forest. Why? Because some mushrooms, as you know, can be deadly. They can cause death. So deadly is the answer. And Big Brother, if you watch it, it is a reality TV show. And one last sentence. The dentists, what shall they do? They shall sterilize their equipment, make them clean. So let's move on. See? Solution, intent, infect, restricted, implications, deadly, reality, and sterilize. So we were right. Let's move on. Here we have another exercise to practice these new words and terms. We have here 5 words and 5 sentences, or 4 sentences, one with 2 options. You need to fill in the blanks using the words from the box. The words are prescription, we have isolate, isolation, production, and invaded. I will read you the sentences and then give you some time to think of answers. The company has increased its what by 10%? The doctor gave me a what for the infection? It is necessary to do what for patients with corona and keep them in what for 2 weeks, 14 days? Coronavirus has done what to the whole world? Take a minute and then we'll do them together. Ready? Let's see. The company has increased its production. You're right. Companies have production. So here we have production. And then we have the doctor gave me a, yes, prescription. So prescription here is the answer for the infection. It is necessary to do what? We need a verb here because after to, we need a verb. So it is necessary to isolate patients. So here we have 3. And then keep them in what? Now here we need the noun. It is isolation. For 2 weeks. And one last sentence. Coronavirus has done what to the whole world? Yes, has invaded the whole world, spread widely in the whole world. So here we have one last word, which is invaded. Okay, we can now check. Yes, as we said, the company has increased its production by 10%. The doctor gave me a prescription for the infection. It's necessary to isolate patients with corona and keep them in isolation for 2 weeks. And coronavirus has invaded the whole world. So now we have another exercise. We have here some verbs in column A. And we need to match them to match them with here some nouns from column B to create expressions connected to health. Some of these expressions will appear in the article. So now and in the report. So now let me go over the verbs and the nouns, and then we'll check them together. We have what, lose what, feel, call, take, treat, catch, give. And then we have an operation, surgery, and x-ray, a patient, an injury, a disease, an ambulance, the doctor, pulse, medicine, a pill, temperature, sleep, weight, your voice, faint, dizzy, sick, ill, a cold, the flu, a disease, and one final one, an injection and a prescription. Okay. I'll do the first one for you. You have, yes, you have an operation or surgery or an x-ray. So here it is the first one. Take a minute and try to do them. Ready? Let's do them together. What do we usually lose? Yes, we lose sleep, weight, and our voice. So here it is 2. How do we feel? Yes, we feel dizzy, sick, ill, and faint. So here it is number 3. What do we usually call? We call an ambulance, we call the doctor. Excellent. What do we usually take? We take here pulse, we take medicine, a pill, and temperature. Here we take number 5. Okay. And then we have, what do we usually catch? We catch a cold, we catch the flu, and we catch a disease. So here it is number 7. And one last, here we have treat. Yes, sorry, 6 is treat. We treat a patient, and we treat an injury, and we treat a disease. So here it is number 6. And one last word here, give. We have give an injection and give a prescription. Usually the doctor gives the patient an injection or a prescription. Let's check now. So, as we said here, we have an operation, a surgery, or an x-ray. We treat a patient, we treat an injury or a disease. We call an ambulance or a doctor. We check pulse, and we check temperature and all of these things, or take. Lose sleep, weight, or voice. Feel, faint, dizzy, sick, ill. We catch a cold, the flu, a disease, and then finally the doctor gives an injection or prescription. Can we move on? Let's go. So now we are going to watch a short video. While watching this short video, you need to try to answer some questions. The first question is, what is the problem discussed in the video? The video here discusses a problem. You need to check what problem the video is talking about. The second question is, what are the causes of the discussed problem? Here we have a problem and we have causes of this problem. What are they? And then the last question is, how can we help solve this problem? So briefly, we need to check the problem, the causes, and the solution. Let's watch the video.
Hey there, welcome to Life Noggin. Let's talk about antibiotics. Usually when you get some type of bacterial infection like strep throat or pneumonia, you go to the doctor, get some antibiotics, and you are all good to go. But this may be changing sometime in the relatively near future. That's because some bacterial infections are becoming resistant to these drugs. They are called superbugs. But let me tell you, I'd much rather have some superhero insects in place of these. At least that spider dude saves people. See, every year about 2 million people get sick from a superbug, and about 23,000 of them die in the US alone. So yeah, that's not so super. And to make it even worse, any strain of bacteria is able to turn into a superbug. One of the best known examples of these is the Clostridium difficile bacteria, or C. diff for short. These bacteria live in your intestines. However, the other good bacteria in there as well helps keep you from getting sick. But if you have been taking antibiotics, the drug may have killed some of the good bacteria, allowing for C. diff to take control. And once this happens, it can cause life-threatening diarrhea, and you may even have to get part of your intestines removed, but we're not going to show any of that. And that's not even the worst one. A family of bacteria called CRE has been linked to be resistant to almost all known antibiotics. In fact, it is so serious that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention is calling this one of the most urgent public health threats that we currently have. But how does this even happen anyway? What's causing these bacteria to become resistant to different types of antibiotics? Well, these bacteria aren't getting swole at the gym pumping iron, but like any other living creature, they are evolving. And sometimes mutations in their genomes can cause them to become resistant to certain antibiotics. But also, a much more terrifying explanation has to do with plasmids, which are parts of the bacterial DNA. The plasmid enters and multiplies itself within a cell and can then be transferred to others. So essentially, these plasmids are the vehicles that transfer genes for antibiotic resistance between different bacterial species. Or in plain English, plasmids are part of the reason that one day, antibiotics may not be able to help your strep throat anymore. Oh no. The bad news is that the more antibiotics you've taken, the higher your risk. And also, the more times you're in the hospital, the higher your risk. Now, you should absolutely still go to the doctor and take antibiotics if you need to, but the point is that you shouldn't take them unnecessarily. And also, to be safe, you should always wash your hands thoroughly after using the bathroom or preparing food. It looks like the medical industry is in need for some alternate ways to treat bacteria infections, because otherwise they may eventually run out of antibiotics that actually work. I know this might seem scary, but maybe it could be a motivator. Go humans! You got a lot of surviving to do. So what do you think of all this? Or tell us what we should talk about next. Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm Blocko. This has been Life Noggin. Don't forget to keep on thinking. Hey there.
Okay, so here we have a problem discussed in the video. What is this problem? Yes, you're right. They are talking about something called superbugs. What are they? What are these things? These are bacteria that can resist antibiotics. Excellent. That can't be cured so far. What are the causes of this problem? The causes of this problem, taking too much antibiotics, because then these types of bacteria can form resistance against antibiotics, and then no antibiotic can cure such bacteria. So how can we solve this problem? To take less antibiotics. Only take antibiotics when needed, and then you need also to keep clean. You need to wash your hands and keep everything clean so as to make sure you don't have bacteria and then which can turn into superbugs. Okay. Now we are going to start our lesson, the reading comprehension thing, and then we are going to start reading our report. So before we read our report, we need to check if we know the meaning of scanning. Scanning is a very important skill we can read when dealing with reports, when answering questions concerning information in the report. Here we have something is called scanning. Scanning is one type of reading. What do you do while scanning? You look at the article quickly, or you look at the report quickly, or at the text quickly. Why? To find specific pieces of information, and you can make use of eye catchers. Like what? We have numbers. You can make use of numbers. You can make use of capital letters. You can make use of words in italics. You can make use of words in bold, and you can make use of quotation marks. For example, if they ask you for a date, you quickly look for numbers. If they ask you for names of people, places, etc., you quickly look for capitalized words. If they ask you for a name of a magazine or something like that, you look for italicized words and then, or words in bold. And if they ask you for a saying, you look for quotation marks. So now we'll go on a break and then we'll start with our text and report. So we're back. Now, before we read our report, we need to scan the first paragraph of the report and fill in the blanks. You need to find the name of a newspaper. And then you need to know how many hospital patients the superbug infected. And one last thing you need to look for is the superbug infection caused the death of how many people. I'll just read you the paragraph and then we are going only to scan. I will show you the paragraph. Here we have to look for 2 numbers and 1 name, right? If you look at the first sentence, the headline of Washington Post. So here we have italicized title, Washington Post. So most probably this is the name of magazine we are looking for. And then we have 5th victim. So this is a number. So this is 7th. So here the 7th victim. So here we have a number. And then because it is the 7th, then how many people were killed? We have 7 people. And then if we move on, we have another number which is 17. Here we said Washington Post, and then we have 7th, and then we have 17. 17 are the patients who were infected, and only 7 of them were killed by this thing. So let's go to our question here. So the name of a newspaper, we have Washington Post. The number of infected patients are 17, and the number of dead people are 7. So we were right. So now we are going to read the paragraph and then answer more questions about it. The headline of Washington Post read, "Superbug claims 7th victim." The article reported that 17 hospital patients were infected with deadly bacteria which were resistant to drugs. Even though the victims were isolated from other patients and treated with antibiotics, not everyone survived. The article reflects a new and shocking reality. Powerful bacteria called superbugs are invading our world, and they are indestructible. This is a very important term. Indestructible, which means they cannot be controlled, uncontrollable. So here we have a first question. What do we learn about superbugs? And we need to choose 2 correct answers. When we answer such questions, we need to cross out all the information that seem irrelevant. So here we have, they are very infectious. Yes, this is what we were told. They can, superbugs can move from one patient to another in a very dramatic way. So here it is correct. They must be treated with antibiotics. Unfortunately, they are resistant to antibiotics, so this is not an answer. Recently, they killed 17 people. It's true, but here we have only in one hospital. Maybe we have other places, so we leave it. We don't cross it out, we leave it. They are impossible to eliminate. Yes, as I told you, we looked at the last word in the paragraph and we said that they are impossible to be controlled. So they are impossible to eliminate. However, we move on with our answers to make sure that there are no more suitable answers. All patients were infected with the bacteria? No. They are invading certain hospitals? We don't know. They told us only of one case. So they are very infectious and they are impossible to eliminate. Here we had a trick. Some people might just be tricked and choose they killed 17 people. No, even though we are talking only about one hospital, but the number of people who were killed were only 7. The number of people who were infected were 17. So this is not an option at all. So now we can move on. So they are very infectious and they are impossible to eliminate are our correct answers. So now we move to paragraph number 2. While I read, please try to determine the main idea of this paragraph. The widespread misuse of antibiotics since its discovery in 1945 is the main cause of the superbug invasion. Antibiotics, which were originally intended to treat bacterial infections, have been used for viral infections. Some antibiotics can easily be bought over the counter. Others are prescribed by the doctors who succumb to pressure from patients. So here we need to know, what is the main topic of this paragraph? Yes, they are talking about the cause of the problem of superbugs. What is the cause? It is the widespread of misuse of antibiotics. They don't use antibiotics in the correct way. How? They tell us that here we have to scan. The date here represents what? The year antibiotics were discovered. They were discovered in 1945. Why did they invent them? Yes, to treat bacterial infections. Infections caused by bacteria. But people now are using them for viral infections, for infections caused by viruses. So now, and which makes it worse, that you can easily buy antibiotics. You can go to the counter of the pharmacy and ask for antibiotics. And then sometimes doctors, because patients keep nagging, they just give up and give them antibiotics. So here, as we said, scan the second paragraph of the report and fill in the blank. Antibiotics were first discovered in, yes, as I told you, 1945. We circled this date. Here we have the connection between paragraphs. Usually when you want to understand a report, it is very important to understand the connection between paragraphs because one paragraph completes the other. We have a certain relation among paragraphs which makes it easier for us to understand the whole text or a report. So here we have the first paragraph. The writer describes a problem. He told us, or she told us in the first paragraph, that we have a problem called superbugs. And then in the second paragraph, what did the writer explain? Is the writer expressing an opinion about this problem? Giving an opinion? Or is he providing solutions to the problem? Giving background to the problem? Comparing the problem to other problems. So here, the first one, we don't know the writer's opinion. The writer doesn't express an opinion about this problem. Does he provide a solution to the problem? No, no solutions are given. Does he compare the problem to other problems where we told about other problems? No other problems are mentioned. Here we have the term background, which means the history. So yes, we were giving some background about the problem, that in 1945 antibiotics were discovered and then they were misused and then this resulted in having superbugs. So our answer is the writer gives background to the problem. What we did is we crossed out the answers that seemed unrelated, and then we chose the right answer. Let's move on. Yes, let's check. Gives background to the problem. So this is our answer. Now we have something called paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is what? Paraphrasing is expressing the meaning of something written or spoken, but using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. So usually, the question on the exam often paraphrases the words in the text. Usually you have the same idea, but different words. So don't look usually for the same words in the text. No, look for similar words, because usually questions in the exam paraphrase the words in the text. An example of paraphrasing here. What was the initial purpose of antibiotics? Here we have initial purpose. Did you read or come across a word, the term initial purpose in the paragraph? Let's check. No. Here, if you scan, is there a term here, initial purpose? No, but we here have were originally intended. So here we have the purpose. So antibiotics, which were originally intended to treat. So here, what was the purpose of inventing antibiotics? So to treat bacterial infections. So here we have paraphrasing. So we didn't have the same words, but the same meaning. So the answer here will be, you need to look, as I told you, for a phrase that has the same meaning as initial purpose. As we said, intended, initially intended, and then they were originally intended to treat bacterial infection. So, paraphrasing. Now we have a third paragraph. The implications of this misuse are cause for concern. The first is that antibiotics only work against bacterial infections and are ineffective in the case of viral infections. The second and more serious implication is that when a patient regularly takes an antibiotic for a viral infection, such as a sore throat, his or her body builds up resistance, which means the antibiotic will have little effect against a superbug in the future. Again, we come back to the connection among paragraphs. The first paragraph presented the problem. The second paragraph presented the background of the problem, and now we have the implications of the problem. They said that we have the first implication is that antibiotics can only work with bacterial infections, and they are not for viral infections. They are not for infections caused by viruses. The second implication is that when you keep taking antibiotics, your body will become resistant against antibiotics. Antibiotics will no more work. And then the last, here the second, and it is the same one, which means here that antibiotic will have little effect against a superbug in the future. You will be in threat. Let's move on. So here we have a cause and effect answer. First, we need to know how to answer such questions, and then we will do. When you are asked to complete a sequence of cause and effect, look for words in the text, such as cause, as a result, consequences, implications, effect. So here we have them in our paragraph. Let's see the question. Antibiotics work only against bacterial infections. However, they are being used what? Yes, to treat viral infections. The body builds up resistance to antibiotics. This means antibiotics are no more effective. Here, I will show you something. Here we have also some paraphrasing. We'll go to the paragraph to show you. See here, ineffective, they are no more. I can't say ineffective because we have no more. Here we have the negative form. So we need to have the opposite word of ineffective, which is effective. So they are no more effective, which means the same as ineffective. So this is one thing. So here we have another thing to talk about in this paragraph. No, we're fine. Okay, so here, as I told you, however, they are being used to treat viral infections and they are no longer effective. One last paragraph. Today, experts are looking for solutions to superbugs. The most immediate problem is to stop their spread. Therefore, strict rules of hygiene, such as washing hands and sterilizing equipment, are enforced in hospitals and health clinics. In another attempt to fight superbugs, the use of antibiotics in some countries is now restricted by law. In the Netherlands, for example, antibiotics are rarely prescribed. This has resulted in a very low incidence of infections due to superbugs. Again, we have connection between or among paragraphs. Problem presented, then we have background, implications, and now we have, you're right, solution. The first solution is what? To stop its spread. How? We need to have strict rules in relation to hygiene, washing your hands, sterilizing equipment, and so on. And then we have to have some restrictions on the use of antibiotics. You can't just use antibiotics as you wish. And they gave us here an example, the Netherlands, where we have strict use of antibiotics, and that's why we have very low incidence of infections due to superbugs. They don't have superbugs. So here is scan. One country that restricts the use of antibiotics. What we have here, a capitalized word. Yes, you're right, the Netherlands. So here the Netherlands. One last question. The Netherlands is described as a country which restricts the use of antibiotics. What are the results? So here we need to look for something that is paraphrased. If we go back, here we have, this has resulted. Only you need to change the wording. In a very low incidence of infections due to superbugs. So the answer here is there is a very low incidence of superbugs due to infections in the Netherlands. So now we're done, and I bet you can understand text that consists of bands 2 and 3. You can understand a report. You can scan a report for specific information and track causes and effects in a report. We're done. Keep safe, stay home. I wish you health and success. Bye-bye.